Very good evening to all who are in India. A very good morning to everyone who is in the global north, especially in the United States. Dr. Ghosh is here. And a very late evening in Japan. So it's almost getting, so I think we have adjusted the time well. And thanks to Dr. Shreyash Barule using the time so well. So I think today it's really a pleasure to have one of the top experts of urban planning, urban sciences, and urban engineering amidst us, because I've seen him at the University of Tokyo, which is one of the best universities in the world and probably the best in Asia in research, in development, and in planning. And many of our current faculty and former students are from the University of Tokyo. But I think to do all that, I'll request my very near and dear friend, Professor Shailendra Kumar Varshney, who has many accolades, a very long experience in Japan at Sapporo, close to 7 years, very efficient engineer, a designer, which is very important, a former chairperson of our School of Leadership, Dr. Partha Ghosh, School of Leadership. Dr. Partha Ghosh is here. He is the chief mentor, benefactor of our school. It is for him we have the school today. And it has become a school just a few months back. Before it had existed as an academy. So the features, the scope, and the larger domain of our functions have also increased. So for long, even it was an academy, we had this tradition of having this monthly lecture series of inviting top leaders who are also experts, top leaders who are also researchers, top leaders who are also doers on the field. And I think we have an extremely apt and suitable personality today who fits into all that I have just said. So I'll request Professor Varshney, who is also our Dean of Student Affairs, Indian Institute of Technology right now. And we are also in the company of Professor Saikat Pal, Professor, Department of Architecture and Regional Planning, and also experiences in Japan. So I think this is a wonderful gathering. And I've been to Japan about 7 times, 6 or 7 times. So it's just not listening to an expert, but it's hearing someone from Japan. It's a very personal thing from me. So at this point, I'll request Professor Varshney to say a few words. But before that, I'll just request Dr. Ghosh to say a few welcome words.
Thank you. Thank you. Ohio, gozaimasu in people, and good morning in the US. Good evening. And Professor KIDOKORO, thank you very much for joining us this evening, late in the evening. In addition to what Dr. Sen has said, I had the privilege to spend 15 years in Japan. I was very, very close to Tokyo University as well as Kyoto University while I was a management consultant with McKinsey and Company. So I had the privilege, just to give you a little bit of background, to work with people like Soichiro Honda when he was leading Honda Motor Company in the 80s. I had the privilege to work with Mr. Akio Morita of Sony, and then, of course, Mr. Omron's founder, Mr. Tateishi, and many others. But clearly, one of the reasons we have the school, I felt there's a lot to learn from the Eastern way of leading versus Western way of leading. And the School of Leadership is about fusing, bringing together both Eastern and Western philosophies. And I always was very, very impressed particularly with Japanese leaders, how they manage the leadership and inspire people to be part of the company, as I've seen in the West, in the US and Europe. And obviously, as you know, India has been the father of Vedic philosophy, which Japan has imbibed and practiced much more than we do in India. So I think we have now an opportunity to chart a new course of leadership for the world. And in that spirit, I'm so happy to have you among us, Professor KIDOKORO, because personally, as you could see, Professor Paul, Professor Varshney, Professor Sen, all of us have a tremendous amount of love and respect for the leadership that we have witnessed in the world from Japan. So with that, I think I'll pass it to Professor Varshney. Thank you very much from my side here in Boston. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
So I think it's really a special moment for me as on my personal note, and I really agree with what Partha and Professor Joy mentioned. Means Japan is a special kind of like in your heart. So for me, it looks like and I'm onto the second home in Japan. So we have been, I think, as Partha mentioned about this academy, not academy leadership. Now it's in a school of leadership. So it's having a different kind of like in a series of the lectures started almost, I think, few years back, and then we continuing. This is really one of the best thing, and listening to different aspects of leadership from different people. So it's my honor and it's great pleasure to introduce Professor KIDOKORO, and he's a senior consultant at ALMEC Corporation in Japan. He specializes in urban planning and governance studies. So to his academic credentials, he received his PhD from University of Tokyo, and he has been associated with the international organizations such as United Nations. He served as a professor of urban planning and as the head of international development and regional planning research unit at the University of Tokyo's Department of Urban Engineering. His influential research critically examines urban transformation. His recent, let's say, contribution or key work, he analyzed the dynamics of gentrification and spatial inequality, as well as the formation of creative industry clusters in a city suburban communities. He also shaped a broader scholarly discourse as an editor of foundational volumes on sustainable and vulnerable city regions. I've seen sir there in Japan when because I was in a Sapporo, and multiple times we faced kind of like earthquakes and those. So I've seen by my eyes how the buildings and the definitely the architecture and those is quite of learning for us. So now I put up the stage to you and Professor Joysen to take it forward. Unmute, sir. Into unmute.
So yes. So I think we can just go like this. Thank you so much, Professor Varshney. It's a pleasure listening to you. Someone from Japan introducing someone from Japan. Yeah. So I think at this point, it is our immense pleasure to have our esteemed speaker expert, Professor Tetsuo KIDOKORO, to take over the forum and perhaps share his presentation and proceed. And then it'll be followed a question and answer session initiated by Professor Saikat Kumar Paul. Yeah, the presentation is visible and we may start.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind invitation. It is a great honor to speak in this prestigious lecture series. And I'm very happy to be here with those who have a very close relationship with Japan as well. I hope I can discuss with all of you about planning issues, which I would like to talk today. Today, I would like to talk about a process architecture for next generation planning, urban planning, which I named the three arenas model. Contemporary planning theory has advanced significantly Yet, in practice, a growing gap remains between planning ideas and real-world implementation. It is precisely this challenge that today's lecture seeks to address. I will skip this. Let me begin with a brief self-introduction. After working for the United Nations for some time, I served for many years as a professor of urban planning at the University of Tokyo. Currently, I work as a private consultant with ALMEC Corporation, as you kindly introduced. Drawing on my experience across academia, the public sector, and the private sector, I have sought to develop a process architecture for planning. I will skip this. So I would like to open my talk with a fundamental question, which I would like to answer today. In many cities, planning clearly exists, yet transformational changes of cities so often do not follow. The key question, therefore, is why planning so often fails to translate into real change. In recent years, several important streams in contemporary planning have emerged. Strategic planning emphasizes clear strategic orientation and prioritization. Communicative planning highlights collaboration, dialogue, and inclusion. And transformative planning focuses on governance, reform, and institutional change. Indeed, these ideas are reflected in international guidelines developed by organizations such as UN Habitat and the World Bank, which emphasize transformation, collaboration, and investability. However, despite their conceptual strengths, most existing guidelines remain largely at the level of principles. They do not yet provide a concrete process architecture that I felt while I'm working as a private consultant in the field of urban planning. This creates a key challenge, the need for an implementable planning architecture that spans the entire planning cycle, grounded in contemporary planning theory, yet fully operational in real institutional and investment contexts. So building on contemporary planning theory, which I briefly talked about, and emerging practical challenges, 4 guiding principles can be proposed, or I would like to propose, for a new generation of planning guideline. First, the strategic framework principle, which links vision, goals, strategies, and priority projects. Second, the communicative planning principle, which embeds multi-stakeholder collaboration as a structural feature. Third, the transformative planning principle, which views planning as a process of institutional change, capacity development, and continuous learning. And finally, fourth, the system architecture principle, which provides a clear structure connecting policy, dialogue, project development, and implementation as a data-informed, learning-enabled system. So this principle is becoming important in the era of AI these days. Conventionally, planning and implementation process flow top-down from political leadership to planning agencies and sectoral departments, treating planning largely as an allocation exercise. While administratively clear, this approach limits cross-sector coordination, weakens stakeholder engagement, and often disconnects plans from project development and implementation realities. In my view, this structural limitation is one of the key reasons why many well-intended plans fail to translate into effective action because of a gap between different layers in the top-down system. In contrast to conventional planning, the three arenas model, which I would like to propose today, is composed of three arenas, where as a space for co-creation, stakeholders engage in dialogue, share evidence, learn continuously, and interact dynamically, structured by a process architecture. Process architecture here is designed as a system-level design of planning processes, a framework that defines roles, interfaces, feedback loops, and sequencing, a structure that enables continuous learning, adaptation, and co-evolution, an architecture compatible with data and AI-enabled, human-centered, scenario co-thinking, learning, and decision-making. This slide illustrates how an arena is deliberately designed to enable co-creation. As shown in the figure, the arena is structured around four core components. In this model, shared platform combining stakeholder engagement and a knowledge base, interactive process of scenario co-thinking and learning, facilitation mechanism that connects actors and interactions, and sequence of events through which collaboration occurs, events, or we can understand as activities. An arena is not a gathering, but a designed process here that links dialogue, evidence, and learning to produce outputs, finally. The dynamic process of scenario co-thinking is central to how each arena generates direction and learning over time. This process is framed as a loop of scenario co-thinking, an interactive cycle of exploring alternative scenarios, testing options, reflecting on implications, and refining strategic directions through dialogue and evidence. In this sense, transformative scenarios provide the catalytic logic that drives the dynamics of each arena. As illustrated in the figure, three types of scenario analysis correspond to the three arenas. Institutional transformative scenarios, assessing institutional capacity in the implementation frame arena. Policy direction scenarios, clarifying policy priorities in the policy formulation arena. And investment facilitation scenarios, examining financial feasibility and investment viability in the project development arena. The three arenas operate in parallel and interact continuously, unlike a conventional top-down system with one another. From here, I would like to explore how each arena should be designed. Let us begin with the implementation frame arena, because planning can only succeed when institutional arrangements, coordination mechanisms, and implementation capacity are addressed from the outset. Implementation is exactly where many plans fail in practice. For this reason, the three arenas model places this arena at the center of the overall process. Normally, in the past, planning guidelines start from vision, strategy, project, and finally implementation. But in my view, it is a reason of the failure of planning. Implementation frame, setting implementation frame should come first. Then things should follow. So that is one of the message which I would like to talk today. As shown in the figure, the key events of the implementation frame arena are structured around four core components: design of institutional transformation, development of a regional promotion framework, formulation of a monitoring and evaluation framework, and design of knowledge development. In the following slides, I will walk through some of the key components of each event. I will begin with the institutional design of facilitation mechanism. The co-evolutionary design is the key mechanism through which planning remains active and adaptive over time. In the three arenas model, planning and institutions are not fixed. They co-evolve over time through collaboration and learning. As shown in the left figure, urban governance progresses from an emerging phase to a collaborative phase and eventually to an institutionalized phase as local initiatives advance and institutions mature. In parallel, as illustrated in the right figure, the master plan evolves, becoming more operational and more transformative over time. A well-known example of this transformative and co-evolutionary process can be found in the Portland metro region in the United States. There, a metropolitan organization known as Metro was initiated through local initiative and later formally institutionalized at the state level. Metro played a central role in formulating a TOD-based metropolitan development plan and in ensuring its implementation over time. Today, the Portland metro region is widely regarded in the planning field as one of the world's leading livable city regions. This slide introduces institutional transformative scenarios, which act as a catalytic engine for the implementation frame arena. Reference scenarios builds on the emerging paradigm of city as a service, which views cities as spaces where services are co-created by multiple actors rather than delivered by a single authority. Helsinki City, Finland, is a well-known example. From this perspective, four institutional models can be identified: city as a provider, city as a system, city as an enabler, and city as a platform. These models are distinguished by whether governance is centralized or networked, and whether coordination is project-based or institution-based. The detailed explanation is in this table, but because of the limitation of time, please study it later on. As shown in this slide, institutional transformative scenario analysis examines how different governance models, such as city as a system, city as an enabler, or city as a platform, shape possible responses to development challenges of the region, which are identified in the policy formulation arena. Because of interaction among the arena, so development challenges should be identified in the policy formulation arena, which I will explain later on. Naturally, stakeholder engagement in this process is essential. The institutional transformative scenarios examine how cities can evolve from a provider model toward more advanced arrangements following context-specific pathways rather than a single uniform trajectory. Cities follow variegated pathways, gradually shifting from centralized project-based coordination, such as city as a provider or city as an enabler, to more network-based and institutional-based forms of governance. And finally, may advance to city as a platform scenario on their specific contexts. Framing these pathways as institutional transformative scenarios helps identify realistic and dynamic transition steps rather than assuming immediate institutional reform, which often leads to failure due to institutional lock-in. So the pathways, finding pathways to develop little by little or gradually is very important in terms of scenario analysis. To pursue the most appropriate institutional transformative pathway, a co-coordination organization is required to facilitate the process. We refer to this tentatively as the Smart Management Organization, SMO here. The SMO functions as a facilitative coordination mechanism that bridges plans, projects, and investments across the three arenas. It serves as a facilitator, connecting stakeholders, aligning institutions, and transform planning from allocative to facilitative. Across the arenas, the SMO coordinates policy dialogue in the policy formulation arena, supports project structuring and packaging in the project development arena, and facilitates investor engagement and monitoring in the implementation frame arena. In this way, the SMO provides the institutional backbone of the three arenas model. Right figure is the example for the Metro Davao, the Philippines, which we are proposing this process. Not yet realized yet, but they are in the process of formulating a smart management organization as a facilitator of the planning process currently. To sustain institutional transformation, a shared geospatial data platform is essential, naturally, in these days. This platform integrates diverse datasets into a common analytical framework and supports evidence-based dialogue across the three arenas by providing a transparent and shared data foundation. Through dashboards and spatial analytics, stakeholders can monitor progress, test scenarios, and support coordinated decision-making, ideally. Not yet realized any place in the world in a complete form, but little by little, this system is being created in many cities these days. Next, let's move to regional promotion framework. Regional promotion is essential for attracting people and investment. At its core is regional magnetism, as I call it, building on regional identity and branding to inspire people, attract investment, and stimulate innovation. To operationalize this, a regional promotion organization will be established, working closely with the SMO. The RPO, Regional Promotion Organization, also functions as a one-stop investment facilitation mechanism, ideally again. Next, M&E framework, monitoring and evaluation framework, establishes a data-informed smart management system, but I will skip the details as these methods are well covered in existing guidelines. So I will skip this and this. The final component of this arena is design of learning loops, because learning is one of the basis of three arenas model. In the context of arena design, knowledge development plays a critical role in activating learning loops for co-evolution of planning institution. These loops begin with scenario cost thinking, as I explained previously, and progress through the generation of individual insights and their transformation into shared understanding. Accumulated learning is then embedded into scenarios, process architecture, and institutional arrangements in the arenas as an institutionalized knowledge base. Through this process, scenarios and process architecture and institutional arrangements are continuously defined. A knowledge development facilitation function plays a central role by designing and facilitating learning processes within and across arenas. This function can be a part of smart management organization or could be separated depending on the situation of the cities or regions. By embedding learning loops into its process architecture, the three arenas model becomes a self-evolving planning model, I hope. From here, we move to the policy formulation arena, the second arena. As illustrated in the figure, the key events in this arena move from co-creation of a shared vision, proceed through clarification of development challenges and policy direction scenario analysis and identification of strategic goals. Not much different from the ordinary process of planning activities. The first step is the co-creation of a shared vision. As shown in the figure, vision formulation should be treated as a generative process rather than a top-down statement. Normally, in the real world, city mayors or provincial governors or state governors create vision, then transfer to the bureaucrat or planners. But in my view, vision should not be a top-down statement, but a generative process. As regional magnetism unfolds, citizen participations, market responses, and implementation experience are continuously fed back into the vision, shaping and refining a shared vision over time. So in that way, vision should be evolved. The SMO, again, should ensure that this process is supported by stakeholder dialogue, evidence, and feedback, and remains closely connected to implementation. The next step is the identification of development challenges. So traditionally, planning goals are often set as normative targets in the real world at the outset, which in many real-world contexts prove difficult to achieve within a given planning period. If the goals are set as a normative targets in the top-down process. So our methodology, in this methodology, takes a different approach. Goals are derived from achievable scenario outcomes rather than idealized targets. In many cases, or in many cities, they follow this process, in my understanding. In this approach, goals are outcomes of structured strategic reasoning functioning not as abstract aspirations, a top-down type of aspirations, but as feasible, implementation-oriented strategic benchmarks. But these things are not so new. In many cities, they follow this process, in my understanding. So in the three arenas model, identifying cross-cutting development challenges is a critical step in policy formulation. This slide illustrates an example of that process, which I did in Metro Davao in the Philippines. It begins with an analysis of the regional context, identifying strengths, opportunities, constraints, and risks through a SWOT analysis, rather well-known analytical system. Based on this, cross-sectoral development challenges are identified by synthesizing the regional vision with global and national agendas and international planning norms, also such as climate change or gender issue or poverty alleviations. Those kind of international planning norms should be also considered, not only about the regional context. Naturally, the key point is that development challenges are defined not as a visible sector-specific problems such as traffic congestion, but as cross-cutting root causes that underlie multiple issues. The next step is a policy direction scenario analysis. The policy direction scenarios clarify how different policy priorities shape development pathways and provide a structured basis for strategic choice under constraints. The process begins by clarifying three reference scenarios in my proposal. Commonly observed in emerging cities, infrastructure-led, innovation-led, and institution-led development. These three scenarios should be considered as a reference model of scenarios, and naturally should be refined depending on the regional contexts. Each scenario integrates economic, environmental, and social objectives, but emphasizes different policy logics and drivers, naturally. These scenarios are analytical reference points. In practice, cities construct context-specific policy directions, as I said before, by combining and sequencing these scenarios in response to local challenges, institutional capacity, and implementation constraints. The next step is policy direction scenario analysis. Here we compare alternative policy directions and as a structured thought experiment. Here we are still weak because we cannot consider logically every factors in the region and in the cities, but we should try to understand the transformation directions with a structured thought experiment as much as possible. By testing and discussing how different policy choices respond to development challenges, we clarify strategic priorities and trade-offs through stakeholder engagement. These days, AI-based engines for scenario analysis are gradually available. So those kind of AI-based scenario engines will be supportive. But we should not rely too much on that. Stakeholder engagement and participatory process through a human-centered concept is very important. Anyway, even if we use AI in the scenario analysis. As illustrated in this slide, the results of the structured thought experiment are assessed in terms of how effectively each policy direction scenario responds to the identified development challenges. Based on this assessment, an integrated strategic policy scenario may be formulated by prioritizing and synthesizing each reference scenario through a stakeholder dialogue. Next, strategic goals are identified. At this stage, a structured thought experiment is conducted to examine transformation directions under the integrated strategic scenario, which we identified in the previous step here, through the evaluation of different basic reference scenarios such as infrastructure-led, innovation-led, institution-led. Then it should be integrated as a preferable scenario. And through the application of that best scenario or transformation directions examination should be conducted to the development challenges. Grounded in this examination and discussion through stakeholder engagement, strategic goals then identified by linking development challenges with credible transformation pathways rather than by simply reversing the challenges. As a result, the strategic goals are achievable and implementation-oriented, providing a solid basis for defining realistic KPIs and monitoring progress over time. These are logically very clear and not new for experts, but from my experiences as a consultant, urban planning consultant, in practice, still this process is not so much applied. So strategic goals are rather defined in a normative way rather than analysis of scenarios. So that's why strategic goals often are defined not as achievable within a certain period and measurable through KPIs. So that is the real world problems. But the strategic goals should be defined as achievable and implementation oriented, so that the realistic KPIs can be decided, can be allocated to each goal. Sorry, I lost the way. Finally, the identified strategic goals are translated into a spatial framework because we are urban planners, so things should be finally transformed in spatial language, through which their spatial coherence, sustainability, and integration are examined, taking into account relevant international spatial planning norms again. So spatially, the strategic goals should be checked. So now let us turn to the project development arena. From here, we move from strategy to something decision makers can actually act on. So as illustrated in the figure, the key events in this arena move from formulation of sectoral cluster strategic plans, proceed through investment facilitation scenario analysis, goal-oriented strategic project packaging, and strategic environment and social assessment, or SESA. The first step is the formulation of cluster strategic plans. So in this step, in line with the strategic goals, sector-specific strategies and projects are developed. It's a rather normal process based on its objectives, constraints, and implementation logic informed by technical analysis, naturally. These plans identify priority interventions and generate a set of candidate projects within each cluster. So in the second step, synergies among candidate projects are assessed, should be assessed, which is not well practiced in many cities, as illustrated by the project synergy matrix. The key point is that projects are prioritized not only by their individual merits, but by how they work together as a strategic package. By identifying these synergies, the analysis supports strategic bundling and the prioritization of high-impact project package. Following the project synergy matrix analysis, candidate projects are systematically assessed and prioritized from the viewpoint of delivering the greatest strategic value. As illustrated in this slide, projects are evaluated based on not only their alignment with strategic goals, but cross-goal impacts and synergy potential with other projects. So then we move on to the investment facilitation scenario analysis for the prioritized projects. In many cities, projects fail, not because ideas are weak, but because investment pathways are unclear. The investment facilitation scenario addresses this gap directly. Investment is viewed as an evolutionary process here, moving from public investment to PPPs and/or collaboration with the social sector, and to private investment enabled through interconnected project packages. In this scenario, public efforts expected play a catalytic role by reducing risk and building credibility, allowing PPPs and private investment to be mobilized as conditions mature. For example, Tokyo Metropolitan Region provides a strong case of investment facilitation through long-term public-private collaboration in metropolitan development. Next step is developing goal-oriented strategic packaging. The strategic project packaging is a core mechanism for translating plans into actionable and investable programs. Project packages are developed by connecting sectoral cluster logics with cross-sector strategic integration. In this process, projects are evaluated and combined based on their contribution across multiple strategic goals, allowing high synergy and cross-cutting project packages to emerge. Further, based on investment facilitation analysis, as I explained here, prioritized projects are strategically bundled into packages aligned with the investment scenario and directly linked to strategic goals. Strategic project packages in the figure are the simplified examples which we proposed for the Metro Davao of the Philippines through this process, applying this process. Importantly, this cross-sectoral packaging process can also reveal additional high synergy projects that were not fully captured within individual cluster strategic plans. Such projects are incorporated into the package to enhance overall impact and investment viability. In this way, project viability is double-checked vertically through sectoral plans for technical soundness and horizontally through cross-sectoral packaging for strategic coherence. Barcelona, it's a very famous city in the field of planning, is a strong example of the implementation of goal-oriented cross-sectoral project packages. accompanied by the reorganization of organizational structures together, through which coordination mechanisms have co-evolved in response to shifts in strategic goals over time. So this is an example of the strategic project package which we proposed in Metro Davao, one of the project packages in the area of how people are reconnected to the sea, from public efforts and investment through PPP facilitation, and finally private investment. So initially, we did not consider through the sectoral planning about promotion of creative industries in the Davao region, but through this packaging, we found that new projects should be included here, such as creative industries, through the cross-sectoral packaging. So in the three arenas model, the integrated multi-sector pre-feasibility study, or pre-FS, serves as a critical bridge between strategic project design and full-scale feasibility studies. Unlike conventional sector-based pre-FS, this approach is integrated and multi-sector, examining institutions financing together as a single strategic project package. This is a stage where all critical cross-cutting dimensions are deliberately examined together before moving into detailed project-based feasibility studies. This allows early screening and prioritization of projects, reduces downstream risks, shortens preparation time for full FS, and draws investor interest, I believe. But we tried to this cross-sector, multi-sector FS for strategic project packages we proposed in Metro Davao, but is not yet realized. Probably next year we can do that if our funding agency, JICA, allows for us to do so. So this is the stage where all critical cross-cutting dimensions are deliberately examined together before moving into detailed project-based feasibility studies. Based on the integrated multi-sector pre-FS, the appropriate project investment modality should be clarified naturally. This slide introduces the example of the project investment modality matrix, which allocates projects within a package to the most suitable modality, public and/or social efforts, PPP, or private investment. The final step of this arena is SCSA. The key point is that environmental and social considerations should be embedded throughout the planning processes. Through stakeholder engagement and technical analysis, building on this embedded process, CSA at this stage serves as a formal strategic assessment as an anchor. Here, I will not go into detail again, as these concepts and methods are already well covered in the existing literature and guidelines. So here I summarize the framework or evaluation and mitigation and also enhancement strategies. So before we conclude, I would like to briefly discuss where to begin. So rather than prescribing a uniform planning sequence, it helps decision makers to identify where to start based on existing governance situation. The governance phases emerging, as I explained, collaborative and institutionalized, reflect common patterns observed in different urban contexts. Accordingly, 5 practical starting points are identified. I identified. The first step, which entry point, could be a formulation of strategic project packaging. That's what we tried in the case of Metropolitan Davao, because there the governance model is still emerging phase. So that's why we started from the formulation of strategic project packaging. And sorry, 2 and 3 is reversed. Second step could be creation of a facilitative organization. Tentatively, I call it smart metropolitan organization. Then third step could be clarification of strategic goals. The fourth, activation of all 3 arenas. And finally, strengthening of the design of arena dynamics as a complete form. So naturally, we cannot start once and for all. So we should apply this model step by step. This phased intervention enables the remaining arenas to be activated progressively. We can start, or decision makers can start at any point which may be appropriate for their context, governance context. Then gradually apply the full-scale 3 arenas model. So that's what I'm thinking. So here is detailed explanation of each entry points. Please study it later. Finally, I would like to summarize the key theoretical and practical contributions of the 3 arenas model. The key contributions of the 3 arenas model can be summarized in 4 points. First, it reframes planning as an interconnected process architecture that embeds data-informed scenario thinking and learning, enabling continuous learning and adaptive decision-making. The second, it integrates communicative, strategic, and transformative planning into a single implementable framework. Third, it positions planning as a system in which institutions, capacities, and investment evolve together through phase transitions. The fourth, it addresses the long-standing gap between planning and implementation by placing the implementation frame arena at the center of the planning cycle and making implementation-oriented planning the core logic. So this is the last slide. Now let me conclude my talk with the following key message. The 3 arenas model reframes planning as transformative. By embedding the co-evolution of planning and institutions, it enables the sustained formation of credible and investable plans and bridges planning and implementation over time. Thank you very much for your attention. I will finish here.
Thank you so much, Professor KIDOKORO. The first thing that I can say is that I was just wondering, I was sitting in a planning classroom at the University of Tokyo and listening to your lecture as a student, and I love to be that way. And I'm sure everybody here will agree to that. I'm very excited. I'll tell you why towards the end. There'll be a question and answer session, which will be started by Professor Saikat. But I think equally excited is Dr. Ghosh, and he probably loves to, just cascade a few points into the arena of investigation, empiricism, and passion for planning. So I think we can just have a small, brief summary observation from Dr. Ghosh, and then we'll invite Professor Paul, whom I think is also equally very excited because we share a lot of discussions in our planning corridor in our department. Yeah. Yes. Dr. Ghosh.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor KIDOKORO. It was absolutely, there's so many different topics you covered. So summarizing would not be easy, but you did demonstrate that you have done tremendous amount of thinking and you have lived through the planning process, which is not surprising because you have been doing state-of-the-art work for the last 40 years. I think I'd like to highlight, if I have to highlight, as Dr. Sen has kindly requested me, the first point that stands out when you talk about city as a service. City as a service, I think in today's knowledge economy, we have to look at any organization as a service. I could say IIT Kharagpur as a service. As soon as we see any organization, whether it is a nation or a city or an institution or even a small company as a service, our thinking changes because we are here to serve. Then comes the point that you made, which is what I like is the spiral collaboration. Collaboration one, collaboration two, collaboration. It's a dynamic process. It's a dynamic process, and you had two vectors, if I recall it right, collaboration and institutionalization. Now, what I'm noticing, it is very culture specific. In Japan, it is easy to collaborate because people have less egos. People collaborate very easily because they are egoless or less ego. Whereas in some other nations, I must say, that is very difficult to collaborate, even if the project initiator wants to collaborate. But egos act as an obstacle to collaboration. So we have to think of how to use the model that you have presented, the arena model. I think that's what stands out. Collaboration is key. And the other point you made, it should not be top down or bottom up, it should be both top down and bottom up, which means bottom or people at the close to the base should also feel equally responsible that we have responsibility to make a difference as the top feels. And it is not top to bottom. In Japan, I notice organizations are not designed this way, it is designed left to right because that means no one is superior, no one is inferior. It is a flow of ideas. So these are the 3 points which really stands out in my mind. Service, organization as a service, use the word city. Number 2, collaboration spiral, which is very important, which means it's a dynamic process. We on February 24th, we are going to talk about Renaissance 2.0. And I was thinking the spiral as series of Renaissance, rebirth of ideas, moving from Renaissance 0.1 to 0.2 to 0.3. And how to achieve that is what I think you try to answer. And the final point I would like to say is something very important. And Mr. Morita is to talk about it. I'm again taking an example from Japan, Akio Morita of Sony. When he used to talk about vision, he had the vision of Walkman. But what I noticed when he's talking about the vision of Walkman, though it was his vision, he never said it's my vision, it is our vision. So again, it's possible when the people have less ego because he's to work with the people at the floor level, with the workers, himself doing the welding to make the Walkman smaller. So I think you have really highlighted a lot of points about leadership, and I'm sure the question answer sessions will raise a lot of questions, but I'm very thankful. And Joy, with your permission and permission of Professor Varshney and Paul, let's invite Professor KIDOKORO to join the February 24th event on Zoom.
Yes.
On Zoom, please send him the Zoom because it will be 9:30 in the morning. Sorry, a bit earlier. 6 o'clock is 9:30. 9:30 in the evening on February 24th. I think he would very much like that. So with that, back to you, Professor Sen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh. you sketched, the arena, I should say here. So the arena takes us to a lot of things. I'll come to that towards the end. So we have Professor Saikat Paul. Professor Paul is a very deep scientist, more than a planner, at the ecological and environmental, the pan vision level, where he uses the geographical information system, just not as a system, but as a system of probe uh, to look at things, both ways. That the word which he used, which I liked most, is coevolution. One is evolving with the other. That's beautiful. So I'll request Professor Paul to trigger the first few questions, and it's over to Professor Paul. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your introduction, Professor Sen. First thing is, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to Professor Tetsuo Kudokoro for delivering this such an insightful and thought-provoking lecture on the three arenas model. Traditionally, we look at the conventional approach of planning, but your today's lecture gave us an idea of how to look beyond. And clearly, I didn't understand how technical planning, social transformation, and facilitative governance must work together to address complexities of contemporary urban challenges. We know our cities as systems, and it is increasingly becoming complex in order of magnitude, in order of energy, in order of the interactions and transformations that are happening on a day-to-day scale. And we have to keep up with the pace of this growth, basically. So your ideas on transformative and facilitative planning have given us not only a conceptual framework, but it was also a reflective lens through which we can evaluate leadership, monitoring, adaptive decision making in planning practice. So I would open this floor to questions. And since it was such an interesting lecture, I also have a small, I would like to have your insight on something, that I was questioning, myself, of how we can basically, if you can give us some insights on the facilitative process and the leadership mechanisms, which would probably enable us for a continuous learning, negotiation, coordinated adjustments across actors, while monitoring reveals gaps or unintended outcomes, and specifically how these can be integrated in an AI framework for decision-making architecture. Because in absence of leadership, or when we are trying to replicate this model in a different context, we can use the learnings from different projects or different implementation scenarios. We have also got an idea regarding the cultural aspects of leadership or working in a group. So how we can use these learnings in an AI-driven approach, a framework for the decision-making architecture. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments and observations, and as well as very interesting questions, which very difficult for me to answer, actually. So I would like to respond as in the firstly, the city as a service issue. In the field of planning, in the past, usually the public services are considered to be delivered by the government. And then gradually it is considered to be also delivered by the private sector or in collaboration with the social sector. But we still do not have a proper system to integrate those different services provided by the different sectors. So that is what we have to solve in urban management. So in that from that problem setting, I try to find the way to integrate the services provided by different sectors in terms of scenarios. So then I try to systematize the way to evolve to better processes, a better way of integrating the different services provided by the different sectors, which is city as a platform style. Actually, I follow the way Helsinki City is doing these days. So I don't know. I could answer to your question or not, but that is my idea about city as a service. And as for collaboration, yes, it is very difficult to collaborate each other naturally. But probably, as Professor said, in Japan, it is rather easier because it's a small island country and people's characters are rather uniform in comparison with other many countries, huge countries like India or United States or China, even China. But in my view, or in my experiences, collaboration can be evolved, as I discussed today, through the planning activities. So from my experiences, I feel that. So it takes time for people to collaborate, but if we provide proper space of co-thinking, that which I call arena, then gradually people can collaborate each other, in my view. So finally, third, another question is about facilitation process through and decision making through AI usage. So that is also I do not know. It's very difficult for me to answer because it is still it is very new for urban planners to use AI-based scenario thinking yet. So I just can say, let's see. Okay, so maybe I could not answer all of the questions properly, but I would like to respond in this way. Thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you, sir. It gives us some clarity. And we also have a large body of students listening to your lecture. Insightful lecture. And they have some few, they would like you to give more insights probably, since this is a very big topic and it is difficult to cover all aspects within this short frame of time. So one of the question talks about public policy, election, and how we can, create methods and models for better public participation, sir?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Regarding public participation, again, in practice, in my experience, in many cases, in case of Japan, the government, local governments, try to involve people in planning process, but in many cases, it becomes just a formality. So the local governments, in truth, would like to follow their own decisions. So they use public participation just as a kind of one of the processes which they have to follow legally. So, but actually, they are not so much enthusiastic to follow the people's idea. So we still feel that problems in Japan. But in order to overcome that problems, again, it takes time. And I myself tried to change the situation by forming a group of the citizens in my city to participate in the decision-making process and then propose the proper ideas to the city government. So I think that kind of long-term process for the efforts of participatory planning from the side of the citizens with the help of expert is very important in the emerging phase. And gradually, I hope things is changed to full participatory, to become a full participatory society.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I mean, it is very relevant because, I mean, common people may not have really an extensive idea of how the planning process goes. So probably a guided approach would be much better than having a random interaction. So a planner guiding this participatory program would always be better as you had suggested. Our next question is from your Saurabh Bharati, sir. So, I mean, he would like to know that what kind of powers and responsibilities should local bodies have to effectively plan and execute urban planning as explained by you, sir? Responsibilities of local bodies to effectively plan and execute urban planning as explained by you, sir.
Okay. Again, it's not so easy to answer directly to that question. In many cases, planners or experts will answer that a formal or legal authority is needed to effectively implement the urban planning in a particular city. But in my view, yes, it is very important. But what is more important is a local initiative to apply, to implement the planning in those cities. So local initiatives should come first to try to implement the planning to the plans in the city or in the region. Then gradually should be evolved or should be institutionalized. So as I explained in my talk, the evolution from emerging phase to a collaborative phase and the institutionalized phase finally. So such kind of a co-evolution is needed, but it should be started with a local initiative of the citizens or private sector or politicians. Anyone can initiate, but local initiative to implement the plans should come first. And gradually, it should be institutionalized.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our next question is related to implementation of this model in the context of Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), and how this can be applied in the case of India. I mean, given your experience that you have been studying different systems and different countries like Philippines and growing economy like India, how can we address the SDGs through the three arenas model, and specifically in the context of India, sir? How we can, adopt this model?
So my experience in India is rather limited, but in my knowledge, in my understanding, India, many cities in India is now trying to transform from the rather socialistic city as a provider model to a more advanced city as a platform model. But the problem is in some cities, because of fragmented governance, so network of the people or different sectors cannot be created. So in that fragmented governance situation, there is a institutional lock-in. That means rather in the field of urban development and planning, rather too much market-driven real property-led development should happen under the fragmented governance situation. So that is a problem of institutional lock-in. So I think so that is a situation where many Indian cities are now. So that's why I think from the fragmented governance to evolution from the fragmented governance to networked governance among different sectors is really a key for Indian cities to move to a more advanced city as a platform model.
Thank you, sir.
That's my observation.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I mean, very well said that sectoral integration is very important. And planning in a coherent way. I mean, bringing everybody together in the same platform. And probably there would be a lot of competing objectives or maybe, similar objectives which needs to be addressed. So probably three arena model would give a better and a more convenient frameworks for such kind of development. So our next question is by Pawan Verma, and he is talking about the scalability of the model. I mean, including scale into the model and how it can be applied in case, say, suppose in India, we have planning in different scales. Say, suppose there could be a state level planning body. There could be a district level planning body, which is a smaller constitution of the state, and there could be a city level planning body. So how we can integrate within the three arenas framework for developing a consistent planning program. So because it will lead to infrastructural issues, fiscal issues, economic, social issues. So sir, your ideas on integrating this three scales of planning together into the model.
So in my view, three arenas model which I propose can be applied to any scales of planning from district levels, city level, or regional level. But the problem is if it is a city level, there is a city organization already. But at the district level, I mean, not this area, small area level, there is no organization. Or at the regional level, there may be a regional organization, but usually they are very weak to make plans and implementation. So the issue is not at the city level, but metropolitan level and the small area level. So in those scales, there should be a new style of collaboration of different sectors, and should create a platform for them come together and play collaboration in that platform. So creating a platform at different levels are very important. So in that way, I think finally those platforms can be integrated gradually or interacted gradually.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. And now I will hand it over to Professor Joyson, since we have exhausted our questions, though students would like to hear more and learn more from you, including us. We are also your students. We are learning about this model. So I would like to hand it over to Professor Joyson to guide us further.
Yeah. So I think, thank you so much, Professor Paul, and just be here for some time. We'll close in a few minutes. I think this has been an exposition which has hidden variables of leadership. So it is up to us to decode and bring up on earth the codes of leadership. I think Professor KIDOKORO, you're a very simple man with a simple heart. But I know you're a great teacher from your students. One of your students is my colleague, once my student, that's Dr. Shreyash. And everything that falls apart from my side, I give it to him. Yeah. And so why? Because I know he has been trained, he has been molded by you, in your hands of Japanese leadership. In the normal conventions of leadership, we think leadership is a lot of sound and buzz and a lot of lectures and everything. But things can also be done silently with a lot of humility and by a back seat. And Professor Paul is one such person. I felt so relieved today because Professor Paul took the lead to take over the question box. That's what expected. So I can see him, perhaps, I don't know, as a future chairperson of the School of Leadership in the days to come. And this is the gesture someone has to show. This is absolutely brilliant. I like to close this way. I think there are a lot of questions, and some of our planning and architecture and design students have joined. I can see their names. And I have told them maybe I'll ask a question from your lectures. So everybody's here. That's my bad leadership, which is also not bad. But what I like to what I like to say, I'll just end with 3-4 take homes. Professor, I have been reading books in a very small way on things which are not planning and design, and like Professor Shailendra Varshney's areas of electricity and communications and the electrical sciences. And I think that's very important. A lot of others were saying it's not needed in planning, but I think everything is needed to be a good planner, and things are like that. So that's why I have interesting friends in the campus, someone like Professor Varshney from ECE, someone like Professor Kumar from statistics and computation and sciences. So I discovered 2 words which I typed and I had sent to Dr. Ghosh. And in the reading that I have done in the last 25, 30 years, people, a lot of good authors, I discovered 2 very important words. And Professor Paul knows that. He's a very close friend of mine. And I saw them in your lecture today. I'm so excited. The one word is feedbacks and loops. Feedbacks and loops. I think that's one of the foundation in leadership. And I think in your entirety of your speech, you had always spoken about spiraling, transiting from very fundamental local bodies, and one day is building up an institution in the top. I think it is so brilliant because feedbacks and loops are the foundations of AI-driven systems thinking today, the little that I know. Because the moment a system has a feedback and a loop, the systems becomes automatic. It becomes self-automated. The moment the system becomes self-automated, quantum biologists are saying it's almost becoming conscious. It's almost becoming conscious. So these are some of the great futures that was embedded in your lecture. And the other thing which I read in more than 10 books in the last 25 years, I mean, I never imagined that that'll feature in an expert lecture from you, which is co-evolution. And co-evolution that I know, if I read, Richard Dawkins' books or Fritjof Capra's book, The Turning Point, or any book from, Jeffrey Hall on quantum biology. Yeah, I have read this term again and again, but I'm so happy, I'm saying it from my heart, that today someone of an expertise of your level has featured that word as a part of the planning process. And I think it's so important. I think a lot of leadership that we talk about is about co-evolution. It's just not giving or extending the hand to the other person, but also expecting that the other person will extend his hand when he or she is ready. Yeah, so it's between IIT Kharagpur and University of Tokyo. It's between Japan and India. It's between Shailendra and Joy. It's between one hall of residence and other halls of residence. That's what Professor Varshney is dealing these days. I think many of the problems can be solved if you are co-evolving. And co-evolution is also a part. One of my very senior friend, PPC, said that one very major part of artificial intelligence is omics, OMICS, where the macroscopic foundation of the system co-evolves with the microscopic foundation of the data structures. And they help each other to develop a embedded intelligence within the systems itself. I mean, I learned it from one of the best computer engineers in our institute. And I was so excited then. And today I'm again excited because I have heard it from Professor KIDOKORO. I mean, it's really a delight. And I think these are the take homes that I have as a student of planning and as a student of leadership. And I think the best leadership, as I saw today, is the co-evolutionary iterations between the recursions between your speech and Professor Paul's questions and deliberations. And it evolved to something which is very larger and bigger. And if I have a good voice tomorrow in my planning class, maybe I'll deliberate on that. Yeah. I mean, that's how teaching goes on, drawing inspiration from an expert and use it in the best form. So I think we are very indebted. We are very happy and we are very delighted to have you, sir, with us. And Japan is my second dream. I don't know which is my first dream, but it's my second dream. It's always there. When I talk to my wife or others, and she says, if you want me to settle in any other country, it's Japan, not anywhere else in the world. Why? I don't know, because I think the 6 visits that I had to Japan, I co-evolved with the people of Japan, And I think every time I felt more embedded, and I saw the same wit, the same laughter, the same simplicity, and the same humility that I saw in my grandmother and in my grandfather. Yeah, I think so. That's very important in planning. So with these words and offering thanks to everyone who is present here, perhaps we'll close the session. I just like to see the face of Dr. Barule Sresh, if he is around. I'm sure he is around. Yeah, so, and I think with that, yes, Sresh, I'd like to see you if you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
We'd like to see your face, if you want to show your face for a while here.
I mean, everyone can join in a single screen. We can take a group.
Yeah, we can all join in a single screen.
Unless then everyone can switch on camera.
And we can just do that for some time. And it's actually a matter of pride to have a common shot, whoever is there. And whoever is there, Indranil or Anupam, you can do that screen thing, if it's possible. And we can just have one shot and then we close today's show.
But Joy is a very good summary. As we are waiting, we should build on what you have discussed. The key word is the art of becoming and co-evolving.
You're right, co-evolving. Yeah. So beautifully portrayed today by Professor KIDOKORO. I mean, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I think everybody is in a late evening mode. They could be in like
in switch of the cameras.
Yeah. Maybe a few faces. Fine. MS. Otherwise we take this picture. Let me take a picture. I've already taken.
You can take the picture, Shailendra.
I can take it.
Yes, I have taken the picture.
Oh,
yes. Good. Thank you so much.
JT sir is there. Maybe I think can he also switch on? Like I can see his name.
Without JT, we cannot complete the show.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be a touch of a commander in the battalion which is trying to move out.
He's there. I saw his name is there. Yeah. On screen.
Yeah.
Great, sir. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Tetsuo-san, どうもありがとう。本当に誠にありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
どうも本当に。
That was beautiful. I was waiting.
よろしくお願いします。それから2月の24、私たちのスペシャルミーティングがあるんですね。レネサー 2.0。So, Professor Sen から手紙で、we will invite you. Professor, I just said Professor Sen will send a letter to invite.
Yeah.
You learn a little bit of my Japanese.
I can sense it.
It's very good. It's very good.
Still, very nice.
Sresh endorses that. I think today it's like a homecoming. It's like a homecoming. It's Asia Pacific and India together.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Yeah, take care. Thank you, Professor Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sresh. Yeah. It was really a pleasure to have you. Yeah.